Marxist Mamdani stepped in it yet again. Imagine calling up the most powerful police department in America and asking them to send officers into a war zone to babysit your wife. Sounds made up, right? It's not. And the man who tried it is currently running the largest city in the United States. This week, New York City's Marxist mayor once again got egg all over his face, and he made it even worse by upsetting Democrats in his own city council. His approval is in a free fall, and more New Yorkers than ever are experiencing some of the worst buyer's remorse imaginable. And this story gets stranger the deeper you go. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. If you've been following New York City politics for the past several months, you already know that the Marxist mayor, Zohran Mamdani, has developed a peculiar pattern of behavior. He assumes powers he simply doesn't have. He's a wannabe superhero, right? He makes promises he can't keep. And when reality catches up with him, when the city budget or the courts or even his own city council tells him no, he acts genuinely shocked, as if the rules that govern everyone else in America simply don't apply to him. How strange for a Marxist, isn't it? This week, that pattern surfaced again in a story that's almost too perfect a metaphor for how this administration operates. Mamdani reportedly wanted a taxpayer-funded NYPD security detail to escort his wife, Rama Duwaji, on a personal trip to Syria and Lebanon, countries currently under a State Department Level 4 do not travel advisory. Apparently, Mamdani was under the impression that the security that he gets as mayor, which is provided by the NYPD, assigns him a dedicated protective detail as mayor, he was under the impression that that extends as well to his wife, and not just when she's in New York City, but international travel as well. So NYPD officials, who, by the way, despise Mamdani's been a longtime defender of defunding police, and he's always siding with the criminals over law enforcement. NYPD said, no. How about hell no? It don't work that way. This all as Mamdani's own senior spokesperson had reportedly told people that Rama Duwaji would indeed receive official NYPD protection. NYPD officials had to step in and shut this whole absurdity down cold openly, publicly, saying the department does not send officers to countries under level 4 travel advisories for discretionary reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with actual police investigative work or for any non-city official. In fact, it's even worse. Mamdani's wife isn't even entitled to an NYPD protection detail at all, not even in New York City, since she holds no official city position. So this is a voluntary personal trip taken by his wife that has absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with government business. And yet Mamdani's office acted like it was owed a taxpayer-funded security detail as a matter of course. Now, there's a lot of commentary out there pointing out the sheer rank entitlement required to even ask such a question. I mean, you're asking the NYPD, a department already stretched thin, already facing budget and staffing pressures, to send officers into Syria and Lebanon on for them, law enforcement business, two of the most dangerous and unstable countries on earth, to babysit a mayoral spouse on a personal discretionary trip. And here's the hypocrisy layer to this. When Rama Duwaji does something people find worth criticizing, for example, when she wore $600 boots to her husband's swearing in, or when she posted blatantly anti-Semitic content online, When people point that out, the standard defense from Mamdani's camp is, oh, you can't do that. She's a private citizen. Leave her alone. No, she's off limits. She's entitled to her own opinion. She's not running for mayor. Stop trying to exploit his family. But the second there's a perk to be had, suddenly she's important enough that the NYPD should be deploying resources to protect her overseas. I mean, you can't have it both ways, obviously. Either she's a private citizen who bears the same risks and responsibilities as any other private citizen traveling to a war-torn region, or she's a public figure whose actions and expenses are therefore fair game for scrutiny. So Mamdani's team wants the immunity of private life and the perks of public life simultaneously. And obviously that ain't going to work. Now, Mamdani's response to all this, after he got shot down publicly by the NYPD, you're going to love this, is that it was all a, quote, miscommunication. It was a bureaucratic snafu, as Bill Clinton would say. It was just a lack of communication, just a little bit of a misunderstanding between the mayor's office and the NYPD. No big deal, just a simple miscommunication. Of course, the miscommunication was on the part of the NYPD, right? Marxist Mamdani doesn't make mistakes, but officials at the NYPD, yeah, they're the ones who had the problem. Yeah, right. Officials at the NYPD weren't having any of that excuse. They immediately pointed out the timeline here, that in reality, the NYPD commissioner had already denied any such detail for discretionary personal travel to level 4 do not travel countries before the mayor's office publicly claimed that they would provide such detail. So there was no miscommunication here. They just lied. Mamdani's office lied. So the more plausible explanation is that Mamdani's press office tried to get ahead of the story by acting like the security detail was a done deal, which they intended to serve as pressuring the NYPD into just going along with it after the fact. That's not a miscommunication. That's an attempt to manufacture consent through the media. And it didn't work, precisely because, remember, the NYPD despises Mamdani. He is a politically very weak mayor right now. Now, if this whole episode feels eerily familiar, it's because we've seen this exact movie before. This grandiosity has played out before. Mamdani assumes, for whatever reason, again, I think it's just this neurotic condition of grandiosity that he seems to have. He assumes to have powers that simply do not exist for his job description. Rewind to this past July, just a few weeks ago. During his mayoral campaign and well into his first year in office, Mamdani repeatedly promised that if Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ever set foot in New York City, he would personally order the NYPD to arrest him. And he said this would be honoring an international criminal court warrant tied to the Gaza war. The ICC, okay? The ICC couldn't arrest Bozo the Clown if they wanted to. They are literally the joke of the planet. But Mamdani, again, in his own little world, actually told the New York Times that he was in active conversation with law enforcement about enforcing an arrest of Netanyahu. I think he was lying there. I don't think anyone in NYPD would even have given it a time of day, but regardless. Had he done that, I mean, seriously, it would have been an act of war as far as Israel's concerned, let alone how the NYPD were ever going to get through Netanyahu's rather, shall we say, extensive, considerable security detail. But for months, this was treated by Mamdani and his allies and even the morons in the legacy media as an actually serious executable plan. Not a symbolic statement, but an actual operational commitment involving the NYPD. And then what happened next took public humiliation to a whole new level. Have you noticed how much harder it seems to get ahead these days? I mean, you work hard, you save your money, you do everything that you're supposed to do. And yet, between inflation, economic uncertainty, everything else happening in the world, it could feel like the old ways of creating financial security just aren't working the way they used to. The good news is that right now there is a new economy developing that most people haven't even noticed yet. I call it the hidden economy, and if you can learn how to take advantage of it, you may be able to build something that gives you a tremendous amount of freedom and independence without having to spend your entire life working for it. Now, I know that sounds too good to be true, and honestly, that's exactly what I thought when my good friend Ryan first showed me what he was doing with his online business and this hidden economy. I mean, we're talking no employees, no inventory to buy, no complicated technology, no social media empire you have to build, no advertising campaigns that you got to spend your life managing. In fact, Ryan told me he can operate this business in less than 30 minutes a day and just a few days a week. And when he showed me exactly how it works, I started to understand why. It leverages a common sense approach, utilizing something most people simply aren't paying attention to yet. And that's why I wanted Ryan to put together something special for you. He's going to walk you through exactly how this hidden economy works, how this lifestyle business operates, and how ordinary people can learn to apply this model without needing a technical background or spending years trying to figure it out on their own. And the best part is we're making this training completely free just for you. So if you've been looking for a way to create more independence, more flexibility, more control over your own time, and you want to see what this new hidden economy is all about, then I want you to go to turleytraining.com right now, reserve your spot for the free live private training, and let Ryan show you exactly how this works, because the economy is changing. The old rules are changing. And whenever that happens, there are always people who see the opportunity before everyone else does. And this could be your chance to do exactly that. Go to turleytraining.com right now and reserve your spot.
My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant.
Talk about a clown. Talk about I don't use that word lightly. That's not hype. Talk about a total clown with egg all over his face. The problem for Marxist frauds like Mamdani is, of course, reality. Okay? Reality always wins. Reality always has a way of butting in. Ironically, Netanyahu got the last laugh. He put Mamdani's face up on a billboard in Israel with Iran's Khamenei and Hezbollah's latest leader. It's hilarious. But seriously, I mean, international law professors from Harvard to Princeton, they were explaining the obvious. The United States isn't even a member of the ICC. I bet Mamdani did not know that. I bet Mamdani was not aware. The guy who cares about reality, right? When you've got ideology. The United States isn't even a member of the ICC. There is no legal mechanism whatsoever to enforce the ICC's warrants domestically. A 2002 federal law, the American Service Members Protection Act, specifically bars extraditing anyone to the ICC. And sitting heads of government like Netanyahu carry broad immunity from arrest in U.S. courts, most particularly while attending UN functions. I mean, it was literally like watching a junior high kid pretend play being mayor of Gotham City. It was patently comically absurd. So notice the pattern of delusional grandiosity here. Mamdani makes a grand headline-grabbing promise about using government power he doesn't actually possess. It generates weeks of coverage, cheers from his base, outrage from everyone else, of course. Then when reality finally sets in, he quietly walks it back and reframes the retreat as it's a misunderstanding, it's a miscommunication, or it's a call to action for someone else. to act, so he never really has to admit he was simply wrong from the start. Again, he never has to admit, dudes, I was freaking lying to you. I claim to have power I don't have, and I'm promising to do things I simply can't do. It's called lying. And it's precisely the very same script we just watched play out with his wife's supposed security detail. Announce it as though it's settled, let the spokesperson get out ahead of the facts, and only backtrack once an institution with actual power and authority, in this case, the NYPD, says, they don't just say no, they say hell no. Now, increasingly, there does appear to be some trouble in paradise for Mamdani. Even his own Democrat-dominated city council has had enough with him. Just this week, I don't know if you know this, the city council held an oversight hearing on Mamdani's very controversial new pied-à-terre tax on luxury second homes, a tax that's been an absolute mess. I mean, an embarrassing mess since rollout, with homeowners mistakenly placed on the tax eligibility list, roughly 17,000 notice letters sent out amid widespread confusion. Guess who showed up to answer the council's 11 pages of questions over that tax? Nobody. Zero. Nobody. The Mamdani administration literally blew off the hearing. They simply didn't send anyone. Instead, they cited a pending lawsuit because a judge has blocked the tax, the pied-à-terre tax, and they left council members literally reading their 11 pages of questions to a room of empty chairs. Again, the city council, dominated by Democrats, was livid over this. So Mamdani's making enemies with the NYPD. He's making enemies with his own city council. And he, of course, has already made enemies with nearly half of New Yorkers who voted against him. It's one of the reasons why he's got the lowest approval rating at this time in his tenure than any of his mayoral predecessors. This pattern of blatant, immature grandiosity should concern anyone who cares about competent, accountable government, regardless of party. New Yorkers did not elect a monarch. They elected a mayor, one whose own liberal council colleagues are increasingly willing to say on the record that he doesn't understand the limits of his job. And as his approval numbers continue to slide and the list of alienated allies keeps growing, the question isn't whether trouble in paradise is real. It's how much longer Mamdani can keep pretending it isn't. If this video resonated with you, there's a whole lot more where that came from. The Courageous Patriots Club is where we go deeper. Click the link and step inside.